healthcare IT is about 10 years behind. And he says 10 dog years, right? So they're really, really behind. And I'm like, why would you hire someone coming off from really Wall Street technology to coming to run one of the major hospitals in New York? And he says,
Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today I have a great guest on, and it's always a pleasure when you have the chance to talk to, business owners that are in the space of creating resources and tools that other business owners use. And when I had the chance to talk to someone at this company about their product, Everleague, and really how what their solution is doing is helping simplify for other business owners. And we'll jump into the details of it in the interview, but I want to welcome to the show, Don Lee. Welcome, Don.
thank you for having me here, Terrell. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, before we jump into the details of Everleague, can you tell us a little bit about, your background and, what you were doing before you came to Everleague?
I've always been in the tech space. I'm formally trained in accounting. So I started my first job as an auditor, but really quickly jumped into technology. My previous, been very fortunate in IT that I get to be a product manager for Computer Associates, one of the big firms, where I get to travel the world and see really leading edge technology. In the last 10, 15 years or so, I've been focused on the healthcare IT. I was formerly the CIO of a couple of hospitals in New York City, including Bellevue Hospital Center. And then after that, decided to really support healthcare reform as an entrepreneur, hired into a local technology company, an EMR company, as the CEO in New York City, and just been focusing on healthcare reform for the longest time. And now I'm joining Everleagues to really look to help not just small businesses, but healthcare also.
Awesome. Now, throughout your journey, it's quite the interesting journey of going from, like I said, with technology and healthcare. I guess when you started working in healthcare, did you think that healthcare had adopted technology like as fast as they should, or were there some gaps that you saw there?
Well, it's funny, when I interview at Bellevue Hospital Center, the medical director, he said to me, healthcare IT is about 10 years behind. And he says 10 dog years, right? So they're really, really behind. And I'm like, why would you hire someone coming off from really Wall Street technology to coming to run one of the major hospitals in New York? And he says, we really want to see someone with a clear idea, who have known how technology works in other sectors and how we can apply that in a traditional healthcare setting. And so that's been a tremendous journey for me. Because at the end of the day, it's really about problem solving. Any solution is people, process, and technology, and how do we leverage technology to really get those things together to form a solution. So it's been a very exciting journey.
Awesome. I guess how have you seen the healthcare system adopt like I said, the technology solutions and ideas that you brought forward?
Well, one of the things is what I did in the healthcare space is to make sure that we have some discipline. There have been projects. So besides the technology itself, it's also the approach and methodology. Having be a product manager of one of the major global companies, we live quarter by quarter. So the same way that I manage technology there, quarter by quarter, what's our roadmap? And really just try to similarly getting the buy-in, getting the domain knowledge to help move things along. So the challenge in healthcare is that many of the technology are based on legacy platform. In one way, their advantage is the disadvantage, right? So many folks started early, EMR, for example. They started early, but then it's built fundamentally some of the core, one of the top selling EMR right now is based on Visual Basic, for example, right? And, some legacy backend. So while and to shift that off, it's somewhat difficult. So the challenge really, the solution was really to find a way to have the innovation, but how do you transition that smoothly? So that was the key. One of the, I would say having a strong team of people to make that happen. That was quick.
Awesome, awesome. So now, as you travel down that journey, coming to Everleague, what was it about Everleague that really interests you and sparked your, your interest to say, hey, this is where I want to invest my time, talent, and energy?
Great question. So I said, I ran 5 major hospitals, get them meaningful use certified. I ran a EMR company, get them from 10 state to 20 state, get everyone certified. Then I went to one of the largest, most successful IPA, where they manage about 1 million patients in New York City, get them the certification, but yet we're not really moved the needle. I think financially, in terms of certain areas, they'd be very successful. But when you really look at it, it really have not solved the problem in healthcare. And so that part of me that says I have fortunate to travel this journey, but yet how do we solve the problem? And I think the last miles, right, I always say, or the touch point, I believe that the patient side is where we're going to find a solution, right? So all those things that we have done for hospitals, for private clinics, for ACOs, and so that it's great, but how do I engage? And so I was going to start my own company. And in fact, I already assembled a team, and it was really looking at patient engagement to how do we address that dark window, if you will, in between office visit, in between someone, the engagement with the healthcare system. Then I realized one of the most important piece wasn't the core technology, because I'm fortunate enough to work in some of the top healthcare providers in that space. So the idea of what needs to happen within the healthcare setting, that I'm fortunate to have very deep knowledge on. What's not available was, what is the best way to communicate with the patients? How do we, lack of a better word, motivate them or get them to be engaged in a meaningful way? And so when I looked at it, one of the founders of Everleagues was someone that used to be take care of the books for us, one of our auditors. And so I told him, hey, listen, there's my plan. And he said, oh, have you looked at what I'm working on? So when I looked at it, I'm like, you know what? I'm at the stage of my life where I really just want to do something meaningful and help to make healthcare on other areas work. What he has built was a communications platform, Everleagues. And I believe that that platform will be universal in attaching other areas. So that's why I said, you know what, changing plan, I'm not going to start my own company. Why don't I join a company? Because a lot of the work is already there. And I have this relationship with them going back more than 10 years, more a CEO for a EMR company. So that level of trust is there. I know how they work, and I know, these are people that I trust. And then I know that what I need to help them with, what I will bring to the table would be to how do we make sure that the core technology meets the requirements, if you will.
Awesome, awesome. Now, what has that journey been like? You said, coming into a organization where, the founders already had a product, and like I said, you have a vision and a passion of, the impact that the product can make. How has that been of, I guess you say, working together being a part of the team since you had the initial idea of building your own business?
Right. So there is really a really good fit, right? Because I'm looking at solving, people often say, what's the number one problem? Communication is always the problem. Communication is the solution. Lack of communication is always the C word, communication floats around. But no one actually look at the mechanism of what is what does it take, right? It's not just the content, but how do you, the whole process of it. When I'm in healthcare, one of the things that I was deeply involved with was process optimization, right? Lean, Six Sigma, all of those things, how do you, so when I look at that, I see communications as a necessary mechanism, and then you have specific content or apps that are focused on a particular sector. So in the area of Everleague, there's really what they built was something that I would have looked to build separately, or not so much built, but I was looking into, hey, what can I use? WhatsApp? Can I use, how do people communicate? Am I going to introduce something new? Am I going to force people to install an app? Or can I leverage something that they already have, that they're familiar with? Can I use, for example, Facebook messaging as the platform? So that's the area that I was looking into. I was saying, let me build this content for healthcare, focusing on patients, that dark window in between visits. But how do I communicate with them? Is it going to be Facebook messengers? Is it going to be, Google Hangout? So that was the piece. So Everleague is that piece. So then it's a perfect match. That not only do I see a way to quickly, because they already built the platform to quickly get that to working, but the opportunity to use that same approach to address needs in different business sectors. Because basically we're saying, we're teasing out, kind of like Microsoft Office focuses on Word documents and Excel and presentation. Everleague focuses on communication as a core platform. And then the magic is that we add to it the capability of specific tools to handle those interactions.
Awesome, awesome. So at this point, with the Everleague tool, do you guys already have the product out there to where there are customers already using the product, or is it in the beta stage? What stage of the life cycle is it in?
We launched the product earlier. So the product is launched. We do have some customers, but COVID obviously makes it a little more challenged. So our initial focus was to look at the core competency, where the company was going, right? So we were looking at the accounting sector, the legal sector. Those are the two that we worked on initially. So in both cases, we have some very early adopters on that already. And then the medical would have been the third. So what's interesting was that with COVID, one of the earliest challenges, if you remember the news, the PPP was a complete fiasco in many ways, right? Especially for small businesses. So you watch the news is only the big company were able to get the PPP, right? Shake Shack, gets it, but not the mom and pop. I'm happy to report that we were able to, with our product, were able to get just about everyone signed onto a PPP within 15, 20 minutes.
Wow.
And the reason for that is, one, obviously, if you really tease it out, the reason why Shake Shack gets it that quickly is because they always have a private banker behind them. And the private banker, the accounting firm, I don't think the CEO said, let me look at a form and what I have to do, right? They basically say, hey guys, go take care of this. The accounting calls the banker and it's done. So for a small business, what did they have to do? First, they said, well, they're in lockdown in New York City. How do I go about getting that information? Should I apply? Should I not apply? After that, what do I do? What do I need to do? So there are a lot of questions that they have to worry about that the bigger firms don't. And the challenge was, how do you get involved? How do you get in touch with your accounting firm? So in the case, what we did was that we were able to launch this out to a couple of accounting firms, so that when someone called them, they are able to log into the system, share their screen, show them what the form looks like, right? And then loop in their bankers and then show them the tax return information and get it approved. The last step is the signing of the PPP. And that's also a problem because some of the small businesses were not that technology. They're running a restaurant, they have things to do, and technology wasn't something that they worry about that much because there are people who support them. If they need some help, they walk into the accounting office and then they'll take care of it for them, right? So because of that, you think about the PPP, the last step was actually going online and digitally sign that PPP application. So again, we were able to use Everleagues as a platform to share their screen all in a private, secure manner, and then step them through that process so that the anxiety or the fear is completely taken away because the experience you provided was actually better than if they walk into your office, because then you're looking at two people look at the screen and finger pointing. Now instead you say, well, I'm gonna email you a link, click on it, you're on. Can you see my screen? I need you to click on this to share the screen. Now, type in this link. They'll type it in. When they type in the answer, they're all hidden anyway. So the accountant, whoever's helping them, really cannot see the password information because it's automatically covered. But we're able to say to them, okay, click on this screen, look at this stuff. They're gonna ask you for this, answer these questions. And where there's a question, since that's the accountant, they have the information, we're able to share them back their tax return and say, this is what you submitted, these information. So we literally give them a much more engaging experience for them to complete the PPP. So I would say 100% of the people who filed the PPP through one of these, this good company, they all got approved because they did not have to go through that, wait and call back, the phone tag thing, that all went away.
No, I think that is amazing because it also allows accounting firms and law practices, medical practices to adopt to this world that we're all moving to. Is COVID has definitely taught us that we're going to be remote, and that there's some aspects of our business that actually are more efficient when they are remote. So I think that is an amazing. So what has been some of the feedback that some of the early adopters have said, or what's been some of their reviews or their commentary with working with the system?
Yeah, so that's we actually enhance our product based on feedback. So for us is, COVID is a challenge, it's a global challenge. But as a software company, we had to provide solutions. So the feedback we got actually helped us create a better product. So for example, it used to be that we are a specific secure platform. That means you have to sign up first before you do anything else. And one of the challenges in software is always support. And it just adds to it, right? Someone calls up your accountant, they're worrying about what happened to the company, and the last thing they want to have to worry about is, let me call support to make up set up this platform before I can talk to you. So what we introduced was a new services called Open Conference. So where basically, as long as someone can email you, you can send them a link and then they can open up. And that way you can verbally solve all the problems you need to solve, understand what the needs are, be engaged with your client, and then solve the problem they need to solve. Showing them the PPP, showing them those are not private and secure information. Those are public information. They just don't know where to get it and not sure what it means. After that stage, then you can actually use that platform and say, now we're going to be going into some, for your privacy and security and to protect you, I need you to log into Everleagues. And so the same platform, now you first solve the initial reason why the client's calling you. Two, get the engagement, right? They need your help. Three, you say to them, hey, moving forward, this is the platform where we can communicate. And I can, right now, since we're here, let me just log you in and test it out. So all the stuff that usually gets in the way, it's removed. So now they're engaged and they switch over to the platform immediately. And now they have private one-to-one communication. So So we actually, from the feedback, we improve our product.
Okay, awesome. Now, for people that are interested in the Everleague product, where can they find you guys online, or where can they contact you on social media or by email? How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, at this point, www.everleague.com is the best way to reach us. Sign up for a free trial. We want to launch the product properly, want to be supportive, but we do have a free version so people can just sign it up. So here's the thing I want to talk a little bit about. So on the surface, it looks pretty simple and trivial, right? So to the audience, okay, well, what's the big deal, Don? It's chat, it's video conference, it's groups. How are you different from Slack? How are you different from Team? How are you different from all those things? So here's the big distinction, right? So while it's a communication platform, that if you are familiar with any type of social media experience, there's zero learning curve, right? It's chat, it's all that good stuff. But the difference is that when we built the platform, we added two other things. One is that all your interactions are linked. So if you are used to be a in-person meeting and then you went to Skype for video conferencing or Zoom, right? And then you use another product for e-signature, for example, then use another product for something else. So the problem with that approach is while it solves the communications problem, it does not address the core reason for these calls, which is to have a business engagement where you can help your client. So by putting it together as a collective platform, all the communications, all the artifacts that are associated with those communications stay in one place. So that means that all of the, if you engage a client in the PPP, you can go back to your chat, you can go back to the video, you can go back to all the other communications, to signing documents, to sharing a proposal, letter of engagement, all of that all in one place. That gives you the other benefit. The other thing we added to it is a tool set, right? So all of these communication platforms that we talk about, Zoom, it's great, but you get to the point where something needs to happen, right? Here's the text return. I want it signed. Do you then go off to another software? And your client might say, hey, you know what? I just left this other company. I had 3 jobs. One of them's coming in paper form. The other one's electronic. I can send you the link electronically, but it has a paper form. So we have a PDF scanner for them to scan that document. Or they have some expenses, income expenses, expense receipts. So we built this toolkit so that you only focus on the purpose of that communication, which is engagement to get things done. And so that's what we bring together, right? One, all the artifacts of that communication focusing on this business engagement. The tool set that needs to get the other job done so you don't have to, again, have to shift and change, look into something else. So that is the core thing that we do. One point I also make, with that also help to give you business continuity. How often when we had a chance situation where you might need to bring another expert to help to solve this issue, be it an accounting firm, be it a legal team, or a collection of both, right? So when that happened, with our platform, you bring someone in, you still stay within that private communications where you are. And so that, and then also there's separations. When an employee leaves, what happens? So the platform is built so that you can add resources, human resource, and you can also, when there's separations, easily one click away, but the rest of the business continues. So those are the things that we built. So when you look at it on the website, it just seems like, hey, it's just another communication platform. But those things, those 2 things that I mentioned, right, is really what makes it a true solution for remote communications. And today's world, there's no such thing as remote. Remote is the new normal. So that's the way that we communicate now.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Don, before we wrap up, one last question I'd like to ask is when you think about, your journey with the different industries you've been in, the different spaces you've worked in, and what you're doing now with building out the business of Everleague and helping other businesses navigate, this new reality for us, what's two pieces of advice that you would share with other business owners?
One, always believe there is a better solution, right? Um, and things does not have to be that complicated. Simplicity works, but simplicity requires a really long, a lot of thought process to think about it. So I would say one advice is to know that you're presenting a solution. So know what problem were you trying to solve, right? In this case, want to make sure we have the best communications platform. And then along the way, you would know all the other pieces that are required. Two, it's just believe that things will get better and they'll just keep working at it. And, with your own life experience and that of other people in the industry, they will guide you along the way, just like how we improve our product, even during COVID. So keep your ears open, and that's what I would recommend.
Awesome. Well, Don, thank you so much for coming on to share your story, to tell us a lot more about the Everleague and the solution that you guys have where like you're combining communication with tools and resources to not only let people communicate, but to help people actually take action together and collaborate and work with their clients without all the friction. So thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate having you on.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the time. And again, the most important thing, help small businesses keep their clients and grow their client base. That's what we do.
Thank you for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like our content, be sure to follow us on social media. And if you want to see more of our exclusive content, you can subscribe and become a member on patreon.com/Business Talk Library. Hey, the Business Talk Library is the place where business makes sense.